Hey everyone, welcome to the Dilettante's Bookshelf. My name is Michelle. So one of my very kind viewers pointed out that in last week's video where I did the Booktuber Newbie tag, it cut off halfway through. And I've had this happen on my other channels. I don't know what's happening, and whether I'm closing out before the video is fully uploaded. I don't know what happened, but I thought about re-uploading it in full, and then I thought, well, if you've already watched the other part of the video, I didn't want you to have to rewatch it, so I'm going to call this part 2 of the Booktuber Newbie tag, and I'm just going to upload everything that wasn't in last week's video. So I hope you enjoy this. Thanks again for all the lovely comments on part 1. It made me feel so welcome to the community. You guys are wonderful, and I hope you enjoy and take part. And just like I said in the last video, if you're watching this and you're a brand new booktuber or you're thinking about starting a booktube channel, consider yourself tagged, and this is your invitation to join in the fun. All right, everyone, have a great day. Those were probably the first series that I read when I was young. I have to share that my favorite author from when I was young, and still is Christopher Pike. I loved his books. I read pretty much everything that he ever wrote. I loved his book Sadie. Remember Me was a favorite. There was a murder book club one. I loved his stories. I loved them, and like I used to buy them constantly, and I would read them in a day. Like I just loved his books. So he didn't have, I don't think he had a series. It's been a while since I've read them. I don't think he had any kind of series, but he definitely is the one where I was like, yeah, I loved everything. But the first series that I read was probably Sweet Valley Twins, and then I kind of moved into the Babysitter's Club, Sweet Valley High. I did read a lot of V.C. Andrews in junior high, Flowers in the Attic and all that kind of stuff. I read those for a while, and yeah, so those are the series I would say that probably like solidified my love for reading, maybe. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I'm always fascinated with how people get their books. So that's probably why I keep doing book hauls here. I have the certain places where I buy mine, but I'm always wondering how people, do they just go out to the bookstores and buy new books? Do they buy them secondhand? Are they big fans of the library? Like, I love to find out how people buy their books or obtain their books that they're reading. And then I think the other thing that I would probably want to know the most is how they find time for reading. So do they read a lot during the day? Do they read a lot, do they set goals for themselves to read? Like how you make readings a part of, because sometimes I watch booktubers and they're just like, oh, well here, and they go through all the books that they've read in a month, and I'm like, wow. And I'd love to know how people find that time to read that much. Because I do try to read a lot during the day, but I love to have tips and find out ways that people read different things. So I think those would probably be the first 2 questions that I would ask my favorite booktubers, is just where they get their books and how do they make time to read. And like, is it like a daily thing? Is it something that they do at the same time every day? There's a lot of questions. So those would probably be what, and maybe that maybe I should start a tag about that, like all the different the different questions that I would love to ask. But yeah, those would be my two main questions. What challenges or hurdles do you have to starting your channel? So far, the biggest hurdle I found is coming up with new ideas for things to talk about, because other than the books I've bought and the books I'm reading, I feel like it's getting repetitive, and I don't know if that's bad or not. So yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is just kind of wanting to come up with some unique content to share and interesting ideas for what I'm sharing with you each week, so that it's not something where it's like, oh, here's another book haul, here's another summary, here's not, like where it's not the same 3 things, like this is what I'm gonna read, this is what I read, these are the books I bought, like kind of like a sameness to it. So far that's been the biggest hurdle that I've had to overcome. And yeah, I think that's probably the biggest one I can think of right now is ideas. So if you have any ideas, please do comment down, put below, because I would be very happy to receive them. When did you start reading? I guess reading for enjoyment I must have been about 8 or 9 that I started reading books for my own enjoyment. Yeah, probably about 9 I was reading on my own. And I think that was the Babysitter's Club that I was reading. I'm remembering now because I remember what house I was in growing up, and I'm pretty sure I was reading the Babysitter's Club at that point. So that was probably the first series, not the Sweet Valley Twins, and they came later. So yeah, probably about 9 years old. Where do you like to read? So I love to read in my one chair in the living room. I have a little lamp right next to me, a little faux like electric light fireplace next to me, and that's my favorite place to read. And I usually have like a snack or a cup of something, and yeah, that's my favorite place to read. I always loved reading in bed. So like I used to read, not like in bed to go to sleep, but like I would lay on my bed and read and different things like that. But now I find it that I like to be sitting in my little cozy chair and read. So, and I have the same chair here in the studio. I film these in my art studio, and I have the same chair in here. So when I'm here, sometimes I will get some reading in between work. What kind of books do you like to read? This is easy. I love reading kind of mystery, whodunit type books. I like to read books that are like historical fiction, specifically if they're about a female detective in like the Victorian era. I'm really enjoying those right now. But yeah, definitely mysteries are kind of my favorite. I'm getting into Agatha Christie. I've been reading a lot of, but even like modern cozy mysteries I read. Yeah, those are definitely my favorites. What does your book collection look like? So I don't have a huge book collection. I have the books from when I was younger that I kept, the series that I had. And actually I gave a lot of those to my oldest daughter so that she could read through some of them. But I don't have a ton of books that I kept now. I don't tend to keep books once I've read them unless they're ones that are just like, oh my gosh, I love this book. So I have a very small book collection. I have a few here that are mainly books that I have to read, not books. I have some that I have read, but most of them are here, and it's only like a shelf, maybe 2 shelves worth of books. I have some in our attic at home that were books that I had read a long time ago. Like I have all my Harry Potters and things like that. I don't have a lot of bookshelves in my house, so I have started building my book collection now, as you've seen with some of my book hauls, for books that I'm enjoying now that I'm reading, and building a collection that way. So it's very eclectic. I have a lot of youth fiction, like young adult fiction, a lot of cozy mystery. Actually, I don't have a lot of cozy mysteries. I like cozy mysteries. I don't tend to keep them. I tend to read them and then pass them on. So yeah, I don't have a ton of those. But most of my collection now you can pretty much see through my book hauls that I have done here on the channel. That's pretty much what I have as of right now as far as a collection, because I've always tended to read a book and then just pass it on unless it's one that I just really truly loved, in which case, yeah, then I hang on to them forever. But everything from spirituality, faith books, I had a lot of those for school, and going all the way up to, you know, murder mysteries. Well, what can I say? It's true. It's true. I do. I like all those different things. So the only thing I would say I don't like to read are, because like, I read a lot of Nora Roberts there for a while. But again, I gave on, like I donate those to the used bookstore. In my, we have a thrift, what's it called? Like a thrift store, bookstore here. And I would donate a lot of the books there when I was done, because I knew I wasn't going to reread them. So rather than hanging on to them, I only kept books that like I said, I really loved, or that I was going to plan on rereading. And I don't reread books very often. Hardly ever. Like hardly ever. And if it is, it's like one from my childhood that I'm like, oh, I want to reread that again. But yeah, I almost never reread books. So I had a lot of Nora Roberts I read, but the main thing I don't love, and her books always have them, but I usually read the ones that are like magically based, so they have you know, some sort of supernatural mystery element to them, which I love. But I don't love romance novels. I'm not a fan of romance novels, and if the books I'm reading. Have a storyline that's enough that's not just the romance. Like if it has a full storyline, I'll read them, and I tend to really skim through too much I have no interest in romance novels at all. So if you're looking for a romance booktuber, I am not it. I do not like romance novels at all. Yeah, so that's the only thing I would say that I probably don't like. Or anything too tragic. Just, you know, people being horrible to each other. I mean, I guess you could argue that mysteries are, but to me there's always, with the mysteries I like to read, it's usually less, it's more about the mystery, and it's usually more about the characters involved in the story than this horrific thing that happens. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's why I like the cozy mysteries. But yeah, it's more about the puzzle, I guess, to solve. But books where it's just about people being horrible to each other, or reading books that are, you know, complete tragedies of just horror, you know, I don't read anything like that. And classics, I've talked about this before on the channel. I can't. I try, but yeah, so far I haven't. So that's it. That was the last question. What does your book collection look like? So I got all the questions down. So that's it. That's my newbie tag. If you are watching this video and you have a Booktube channel or are thinking of starting one, consider yourself tagged, because I would love to hear what books, I would love to hear about your channel, and I would love if you comment below that you have a new YouTube channel or a new Booktube channel. Please do, and I will come back and follow you. And yeah, it would be great to have somebody to comment back and forth with and to share our love of reading. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you all next week. Take care.